Welcome, gang. Let's vote. Today, I will be addressing where to draw the line between abuse and discipline. You may be wondering, where did I get the idea of this topic from? Well, recently, a father in Zambia was on video beating up his two sons. Why? Well, according to the father, he pays $21,000 to educate his sons at the American International School. If you are well aware of AIS, you would know that it is quite expensive. Well, these sons missed two exams and they did fairly well on the others and passed only music. Well, this got the internet buzzing. Why? The discussions on all platforms was the act abuse or was the act discipline? That brings us to today's topic. I'm going to be dividing this segment into two sections: abuse and discipline. So section 1 will be abuse, the other section will be discipline. First off, what is abuse? According to the Gale Medical Dictionary, Cambridge, some researchers and activists, abuse is the improper or unfairly treatment or usage of a thing or person, often to unfairly or improperly gain benefit. Please remember this: abuse is the improper or unfair treatment or usage of a thing or person, often to unfairly or improperly gain benefit. Now, you may be wondering, what are the laws against abuse? Well, if you're watching this video, my name is Edevoke. I live in Nigeria, so I am going to be talking about the laws against abuse in Nigeria. One of the laws against abuse in Nigeria is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1990, as amended. In the Constitution, there's the Fundamental Rights chapter, and under the Fundamental Rights chapter, there is a section called Section 34 that provides that every citizen of Nigeria has the right to dignity of person. We have the right not to be subject to torture. We have the right not to be subject to servitude. We have the right not to be subject to inhumane or degrading treatment. We have the right not to be subject to slavery. And we have the right not to be subject to compulsory labor. Well, the other law that provides against abuse in Nigeria is the Criminal Code or the Criminal Code Act. This act or this code provides for citizens in southern Nigeria. Now, when I say southern Nigeria, some Nigerians may think I mean south. Southern Nigeria encompasses south and also states in western Nigeria. Section 216 to Section 362 of the Criminal Code or the Criminal Code Act protects against any forms of abuse against adults and children or teenagers or pre-adults, whatever language you choose. Then there's also the Penal Code. The Penal Code or Penal Act represents northern Nigeria. Now, the Penal Code has different sections that provides against abuse in northern Nigeria. But there are two sections that has brought about a lot of conversations. We are going to get to those two sections very quickly. Now, the other law that provides against abuse in Nigeria is the Violation of Persons Act, or laws as rectified in so many states, 2015. Or you may call it Violence Against Persons, 2015 law or act. The next law that provides against abuse in Nigeria is the Child Rights Act of 2003. Child Rights Act of 2003. And that is very important to this conversation. Next, we're going to be talking about different types of abuse. What are the types of abuse? A lot of people only know about one or sometimes just two types of abuse. One is physical abuse, which is the most common among everybody. Physical abuse include assault, hitting, throwing of objects on people, and any form of movement against someone. The next type of abuse is elderly abuse. This is abuse against the elderly in our community. The third type of abuse is sexual abuse. This may include harassment, sexual assault, rape, and the other type of abuse is financial abuse. Financial abuse includes withdrawing finances from someone you feel is inferior, or even the government abusing power. The next type of abuse is emotional or psychological abuse, and the other type of abuse is child abuse. I hope we have learned something from this. The types of abuse include physical abuse, child abuse, elderly abuse, financial abuse, emotional or psychological abuse. Now, we are going to go into the next part of the section of abuse, and the next part is quantifying abuse. Now, this is very, very, very important to this conversation. Quantifying abuse. I added quantifying abuse to this section of abuse because during these conversations and during these different discussions online, a lot of people were trying to mix up abuse to an adult and abuse to a child. Some people were trying to differentiate abuse to an adult and abuse to a child. Some people were trying to place the abuse to an adult as higher to an abuse to a child. Now, that's why I brought out about quantifying abuse. In this part of quantifying abuse, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things. One, who can be abused? Different people and different things can be abused. An abused person or an abused thing is an animal, finances, object, power, or a person. But in this conversation, I'm going to be talking about a person. Now, who is a person? A person is a human, a living thing, someone that breathes. Don't mind me. That is who a person is. The second part is who can be an abuser. Now, anyone can be an abuser. Male, female, even a child can be an abuser. But one thing we should note is that an abuser is usually someone in a superior position, two, someone who feels they have the opportunity to manipulate, three, someone with mental health issues. These three parties can be an abuser. Now, the other part I would like us to look at is quantifying abuse. An abuse to an adult and an abuse to a child. Now, a lot of people in this conversation usually bring up that what the father did in that video was not an abuse to a child, but rather was just discipline. Now, my issue here is I brought up an argument with someone saying if you can say that the punching or beating or hitting of a male to a female or a female to a male is abuse, why can you not do that to a child? You believe that you should not hit a female, you should not put your hands on a male, you should not verbally abuse people, you should not use finances and abuse on people, you should not abuse an elderly, but why should that be separate of a child? Well, some section of people may argue that when a parent hits a child, it is born out of correction. That I actually find quite sad, because an abuser or enablers of abuse may argue that when a male hits a female, they are only trying to correct in some instances. Another sect may argue that, well, the abuse of the child in that video is not in excess. What do I mean? The father is not dragging the sons all over the sitting room, not hitting their heads on the wall, not using objects. So it is not in excess. To them, it means it's not abuse. Now, that is also sad to me, because abused people will tell you one thing. There are different forms of abuse, like I've stated earlier. There are some people that have been abused, they have not been hit. Some of them get hit, but they don't get hit in excess. Some of them get verbally abused. Would you now say, because you're not being hit in excess, because you're not being dragged all over the place, not being hit in public, not being diminished in public, would you now say that those types of people are not abused victims? So that's why I brought this section about quantifying abuse. Another thing which you note, or I have seen in Nigeria, is up until recently, if you look at relationship, family relationship between the parents and the child, and actions that take place, the children are seen not to have rights. The only rights some parents believe their kids have are the right to have an education, right to life, that they don't kill their children, right to to have movement, and the movement is quite secured, and so many other things. But one thing you see in some of these relationship, family relationship, is that their children do not have right to voice out their opinions. Their children do not have right to take a stance. Like, for instance, in some families, you can say an adult is lying as a child, even though the adult is really lying. In some families, there is no healthy conversations between the parent and the child. The parents cannot have healthy conversations about politics, about, even though what the child will say might not really make any sense, but they can't have those open conversations about anything: politics, education, what is happening in the household. Some children have no right to upstand and say, oh, you're wrong. Or some children have no right in family unit to say, oh, mommy, daddy, you need to apologize. We know African parents hate to apologize. Now we're going to surely get to how all these things affects us as humans. Now, another argument that people may bring is that, well, I got hit as a child and I turned out well, and look at white, they are not being hit, so look at them, they don't turn out well, they shoot people, they kill people for pleasure, they didn't turn out well. That's another argument I'm going to bring up when I am talking about the challenges and the effects of abuse. Now, one thing I want us to note, if you're watching this video, is that every human has the right to be protected. Every human has the right to sanity. Every human has the right to be respected. You cannot say, oh, the abuse of a child in whatever, in however small you think the quantity is not the same as an adult. Because at the end of the day, whatever you do as to that child affects the child up to adulthood, which means there is actually a flow from a kid or a child at a very young age down to the preteen, to the teenage years, down to the adulthood. So if you say we should protect an adult to so many degrees, that means we should also protect a child to that same quantity or that same degree. Now, let's talk about the effects of abuse. There are so many effects of abuse. An abused child can turn out to be a narcissist, can turn out to be a sociopath, and can turn out to be a psychopath. Now, remember I told you that I'm going to be talking about how when a section of people talk about that, oh, we were hit as a child, we turned out to be good, we were hit as a child, we didn't turn out like the whites or the westerners that shoot people, that kill people for pleasure. Well, sorry to burst your bubbles, but you actually did. Now, the measure may be different, but you actually did. If you look at situations of people who do mass shootings, people who kill people for pleasure, people who rob abroad, if you look at their history, you would actually find out that they have an history of abuse. Whether it's verbal, whether it's sexual, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, they actually all have history of abuse. So you cannot say you are better than them because they actually suffered what you are suffering now. And if you look at Nigerians who say they turn out to be of good character, of good personality, many of them are wrong. They are not good people. A lot of them, they are hypocrites. A lot of them cannot speak up when there's injustice. A lot of them cannot even stand up for themselves. And we also have those types of people who are trying to judge as saying that, oh, they were not beaten, they were not told to shut up, they were not this, they were not that. Those types of people, we also have those types of characteristics. We have a lot of Nigerians that are narcissists. We have Nigerians that are sociopaths. We may not have mass shootings in Nigeria because we don't have access to guns. There is no place in the constitution saying that every Nigerian at the age of 18 or 21 has the right to access guns. It is not anywhere, unless maybe you are in the armed forces or some group of persons. So that's why we don't have mass shootings here. But that does not mean we don't have serial killers. There are serial killers in Nigeria. There are people that injure people for fun. There are people that molest people for fun in Nigeria. Just because the media is not carrying everything, or because you are not hearing about it, does not mean it's not happening. It's happening. Some of these bodies you find are as a result of those people. Some of them are not ritual killers. They are people that kill for fun. There's a lot of mental illness. Now, we can also talk about lack of confidence. Abuse brings about a lack of confidence. When you are not made to speak up, one thing I've noticed about myself, my family is not perfect, but one thing I've noticed is in my family, growing up, I had the opportunity to have conversations with adults. I may be saying gibberish, but I had the opportunities of having conversations with adults. I had the opportunity to say what I feel about politics, what I feel about business, and I learned a lot of things. So some people that have been abused verbally or physically, they lack confidence. You can see it in our nation. We can't speak up to superiors in our offices. We can't speak up to the government. Everybody goes out to hide. Everybody's scared that if I say this, how would the citizens react? If I say this, how would the next person react? There is lack of confidence. We can't speak up for ourselves. We are not bold to say anything. We are not bold to present ourselves. Opportunities come, we don't take them. We don't know what to do. The next effect of abuse is a lack of self-esteem. A lack of self-esteem can also be rated as a lack of confidence. We don't feel secure in ourselves, and it actually makes us look down on other people because we are trying to replenish our egos. We are trying to feel secure. We might actually now replenish that on other people. Our insecurities, we may want to display it and make it viewed on other people. The next thing is we become enablers of abuse. People that are abused in whatever quantity of abuse you want to put it, either in soft hitting or tough hitting, all are abused in whatever quantity you want to put it, may become enablers of abuse. We are seeing it right now during the discussions. There were many people supporting the act of that father on his son. They have become internally enablers of abuse. You can always unlearn or you can always relearn. So, the next part we're going to be talking about in this section is the challenges of abuse. Now, remember when I was talking about the penal code, I said something that we are going to be addressing two sections in the penal code. Now, under the challenges of abuse, we have the authorities and we have the laws. There's a lot of challenges affecting the provision of our law, how we enforce the law, how we encourage people. There are a lot of foundations, a lot of activists really doing good work, but I feel like a lot has to be done. For example, if there are no challenges with how we are as a people, how our laws are, this year, I read a statement from someone who is very active in the Imo State government and the politics of the Imo State government, and I read that the Imo State House of Assembly were trying to repeal the Violence Against Persons law of Imo State, and the argument they brought was very sickening. Some people were talking about, oh, why can't they touch this person? Oh, why would they say this person has this right? These are lawmakers, and they are trying to enable and repeal a law that is supposed to be for the people and supposed to be enforced for the benefits of the people. So the law needs to be enforced. There needs to be a renewal of the law. There needs to be an amendment of the law. If you look at the penal code, section 55 1b of the penal code projects that the beating of a woman or by the husband, it's not illegal. It's actually commendable. Then again, you also look at corporal punishments. Corporal punishments has not been abolished for children, has not been abolished in Nigeria. It has been talked about. Nigeria has been invited for so many initiatives where it talking about discouraging it, but it has not been done. Section 95 of the penal code still addresses corporal punishments for kids. Section 295 of the criminal code or act also provides for corporal punishment for kids. Now, as Nigerians, as citizens, we can do our best to raise our voice, to talk about it, to address some issues. As people, we can try to unlearn things. We can try to teach people things. Now, let's go on to the next section. We are going to be talking about discipline. If you have watched this far, thank you very much. Let's talk about discipline. What is discipline? Discipline is how you guide or enable a person to obey rules or to follow conducts. There are different types of discipline for different people in the corporate world, family, whatever have you. But right now, I will be discussing on discipline for children. The types of discipline for children include 1. Positive discipline, 2. Gentle discipline, 3. Emotion connotations, 4. Boundary-based discipline, and 5. Behavioral modifications. 1. What is positive discipline for children? Positive discipline include positive or encouragement towards your children. When they do something nice, you encourage them. When they have homework and they do it, you encourage them. Or if they have homework and they can't do it, or they're feeling sluggish, or they're withdrawing from doing it, you can tell them that, well, if you do this homework, you will be this and this. If you do this homework, you'll be good at this. If you do this homework, your teacher will see you as this. Gentle discipline. Gentle discipline includes creating humor. For example, your child refuses to do a certain thing, or your child refuses to do the homework. Now you can create gentle discipline as funny, like, oh, you don't want to do this, or do you prefer doing this either? For example, your children has homework and they refuse to do it, or your child has homework and they refuse to do it. You can say, well, if you don't do this, you might decide to say, if you don't do your homework, will you like to write a 200-page letter to your teacher explaining why you could not do your homework? Or would you like to stand in front of your class explaining to every of your peer or classmates why you refuse to do your homework? Now, there is behavioral modification. Behavioral modification has a quantity of both praise and has a quantity of both gentle. Now, in behavioral modification, if your child does some things that you feel does not have like a good connotation of character, you may decide to not praise them for it. You may decide to advise them. You may decide to create a punishment for it. And when I mean punishment, I don't mean hitting. I mean telling them that they will have to do something else. And there's also, like I stated, there is also boundary discipline, creating boundary for yourself and for your kids, making sure that if they don't do something, you are going to take something that they like from them. Now we are going to move on to the effects of discipline. Disciplining your child can bring about great results, can bring about a boost of confidence, can make them start doing the right things, and make them start making the right decisions even as children. Next, I am going to be giving my view on what the father in that video should have done. The father in that video, something I would like us to understand, and I know that in one or two ways we have actually understood or we have actually come across, is that Africans don't like taking steps into solving a problem or taking steps to reaching a goal. Not all, but sometimes. And not just in aspects of corporate world or business. No, as individuals in relationships. What the father should have done from beginning, even before it got to that stage, as parents, as parents, if you are a parent, one thing you should learn to do, or if you want to become a parent, one thing you should learn to do is that from the child at 0 age to 18 years, you should have a follow-up for your child. You should have a follow-up for what your child does in schools. You should not just put your child in a school and expect the child to be brilliant, and expect the child to be great, and expect the child to take all the awards. No, you should have a follow-up for your child. You should know what your child is doing right from KG1. You should know what your child is doing. You should know the homework. You should know the activities. You should know how your child is doing in all the activities, so that you can have a follow-up plan. Now, what a follow-up does for your child and for you is that a follow-up will make you understand if your child has a learning disability, if your child is doing well in every activity, or if your child is just being lazy. At the end of the day, it helps you take precaution and helps you help your child. Now, you should do a follow-up not just for your child's education, but for your child's relationship, home relationship as well, family relationship. Now, what I would have advised that parent, the dad in the video, to do was have a sit down with his son or his sons and have a talk with them where they are comfortable enough to tell him anything, and open and truthful and honest enough to have a open and honest conversation with them on what went wrong, why are they acting like this, why did they miss their exams, giving him an explanation. And during this conversation, he should not act angry or upset, because when you're angry or upset, we know when our parents were angry and upset in any conversations, we were never honest. We just kept quiet or lied at the end of the day. So that's the first thing I would have advised the dad to do. Now, the next thing I would have advised the dad to do was discipline the boys. Take whatever gives them pleasure away from them. Make them do more chores, but don't hit them, because it does not solve anything. Now, a lot of people were angry and saying that, oh, $21,000, that's a lot of money. We know it's a lot of money, but thankfully the dad works with MTN and they pay him a whole lot. Now, by hitting his child, he has an issue with the police and has an issue with his job as well. The fact that the boys were truant and him hitting the boys did not solve anything. It did not make the boys better, and he did not bring back his $21,000. Now, if he feels that he cannot be spending that amount of money, he cannot be, because he's not sure if they're going to get better, he can take them, and he feels that he's going to be taking a whole lot out of his pocket and a whole lot out of his finances, he can take them to schools that have less tuition fees, and he can also put them in help centers or put them in activities outside of the school, not just church activities. There are different teenage activities in different countries to help teenagers. He can as well do that. Now, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my talk. Please leave a comment. If you do not agree, leave a comment. If you agree, leave a comment. If you want me to do another video, please tell me which video you want me to do. My channel is going to be about a lot of things. It's going to be about social realities. It's going to be about fashion. It's going to be about art, because I love art. It's going to be about reviews, and it's going to be about history. So if you want me to do a video about a historical event in Nigeria, or about the history of Nigeria, or about talks about different things in Nigeria, please let me know in the comments. Please add me as your friend on Facebook. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please follow me on Instagram, and I will see you next time. Thank you.